Welcome back to Punchline with the former, is he really, Jubilee Vice Chairman David Marathe. We continue our conversation picking up on the war against corruption. David, we have seen now the impending prosecution of the Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu, who surrendered himself to the EACC earlier today. Waititu, of course, as you know, is an ally of the Deputy President, and the Tanga Tanga team have generally characterized these events and the current war on graft as being part of a 2022 succession game plan meant to paint the Deputy President as corrupt and therefore unelectable. My question to you is, with these ongoings, is it too far gone now? Is there a way to perhaps bring back the Deputy President and the President to some sort of understanding on how the country should be run?
I think the President has pronounced himself on matters corruption. Is it Namibia or South Africa where he declared? It doesn't matter who you are. You may be my friend. You may be my brother. And remember, and I said this actually even before the election, and I told Kenyans, in his last term, this president will bring back law and order, he will bring back discipline, and he will ruthlessly fight corruption. Because it's clear to everybody, it's Musalia or Muhisa Kitui who said the other day, that if this president does not deal with this monster called corruption, which is very costly to this country, nobody else ever will, nobody else ever can. And you started by talking about impunity, because corruption is not, like if you look at Europe, you look at Southeast Asia, you get into corruption and you know, in China they actually sent them to death. You know that, all right? Actually, Kenyans are saying we are not even going far enough. So
what, you think it should be the death sentence?
Not that there's the agencies, there's the paper trail, there's the money trail, there must be, these guys are not on a witch hunt, by the way. I have spoken to some of those people who have been accused either of negligence or abuse of office or blatant corruption, all right? And the saddest part about the prosecution of this thing is when they try to link the fight against corruption to politics. In his State of the Nation address, the President said very, very clearly, we are not going to go on a mob lynch. We will let the agencies do their work. Obviously, we cannot discuss specific cases, particularly the ones which are before the courts of law. But I believe the President more or less washed his hands politically from the prosecution.
And you believe that? I'm sure that's the right thing to do.
Kenyans today have a lot of faith in the DCI. They have a lot of faith in the EACC. They have a lot of faith in the office of the DPP.
Let me ask you this, without getting into the detail of it. Of course, last week we saw CS Rotich and his PS Kamau Thuge arrested and arraigned over the Aurora and Kimorer scandal. Should we be expecting more high-profile arrests, in your opinion?
I don't want to presume, but that is for the DCI and the DPP. But
do you foresee a situation, because there have been so many allegations and scandals in the public domain, do you foresee a situation where the President may have to reconstitute his cabinet?
I think the President was very clear that the minute you are charged, and remember, these are allegations, the minute you're mentioned, you have to step aside. Already you saw that happened last week. So the ones who are there, if it should happen that they are mentioned in relation to certain scandals, our expectation as Kenyans is that they will have to step aside. Now, by and large, most of his cabinet has performed their job. Because, by the way, Anna, you are not just prosecuted for stealing. You can be prosecuted for abuse of office or negligence.
which is something I'd like to revisit later when we talk about the cabinet. But allow me to just keep with your thoughts on Aurora and Kimorer. For instance, we've had senators like Kipchumba Murkomen, Aaron Cheriot, come out and say Aurora and Kimorer is a political kind of maneuvering, because we have several other dams whose procedures were similar. And yourself, you've mentioned Thwake Dam, so let's deal with Thwake. And you have been even linked to it. What exactly was your role, if any, in the Thwake Dam?
I told you, the people who won in terms of the evaluation, because these things are done publicly. Everybody knows your price, and then you go to the technical evaluation, and everybody knows who scored what.
So no company associated with you got that contract, for instance?
But a company that was the lowest evaluated company came to me and said, David, how can this happen in this country? We are the lowest evaluated, and here is the evidence. And this is a letter of notification of award to our competitor, who is 3 billion shillings more expensive than us. We have built the biggest dam in the world, and you're telling us that the Kenyan taxpayer is about to lose 3 billion shillings more in kickbacks, because it was a very funny letter of notification of award, because it said, provided they can match the price. So what was the point of the competition in the first instance? Now, when these people tell you that the procedures and the processes are the same in terms of advance payments and whatever, if you look at the Thwake situation, before they were even paid the advance payment, the entire PAPs, the persons affected by the project, were compensated by the ministry, the client. They were compensated. In the case of Aurora and Kimorer, zero.
But that,
Before,
that was
let
also
me
the
finish,
subject
and
of
I want you
scandal.
to understand how this thing works. If you go on the ground today, Charity Ngilu supports that project, Mutua supports that project, Kivuda supports that project, which is in Makueni. Senator Mutula Kilonzo, last time I heard, they were over 20% done. The entire mobilization done, the PAPs all compensated, and you have people working on the ground, and I want to go. I have never been there. I would actually like to go and have a look. But if the ministry officials themselves are telling you it is nearing 20%, after they were mobilized in December, Aurora and Kimorer were done in 2016. There's nothing on the ground. Nobody has been compensated. 21 billion has been paid, and the company that was given the thing is filing for bankruptcy. Come on.
But you can't also portray Thwake as being clear of any controversy.
Which?
The government curiously failed to, first of all, fully budget for the dam's construction beyond the first phase. That failure to properly account, that is according to the Auditor General of the Republic of Kenya, who also questioned the expenditure of 1.56 billion shillings in that particular project. Further to it, in March 2017, there were also allegations that the National Assembly's Agriculture Committee had allegedly pocketed 600,000 in bribes to see this project.
I am not aware, but I can tell you about the planning. There is a GOK component, and there's the ADB. Actually, Thwake is basically financed by ADB. Initially, it was a 35-65. GOK 65, ADB 35. Today, it's actually like 80% ADB and 20% GOK. So it is not true that it was not...
The Auditor General is wrong for questioning this expenditure, 1.56 billion shillings.
Maybe he's behind news. Okay. Remember, the Auditor General audits history. You need to talk to the Ministry of Irrigation, you need to talk to the PS, you need to talk to the Minister to get the actual status of the proposed financing of them. And by the way, that dam has 3 phases. There's the dam itself for water storage, there is an irrigation component, and there is hydrogeneration. What you're living with...
And all of it has been budgeted for.
But they come in phases, all right? I'm told the African Development Bank is quite happy to finance the other phases, provided they successfully complete phase 1 of the water.
Let me put it to you this way as we conclude on this matter. Is it curious, or would you